Okay, sure, we laugh. But what if this is us? What if your life, your goals, your habits, your hustle, what if it's all just out of tune? We need to talk. But before we do, I'm Jackie, part-time wanderer, full-time wanderer, dusting off stories from historical theology for the curious like me. If that's you, this is your season pass to spiral on worship. Want to hear something trippy? You don't have to believe in a god to be a worshiper. You just need something you can't live without. Your favorite band, that resource management Steam game, or maybe you just really love your skincare routine. We might not call it worship, but we're all serving something. Some say we've evolved past all that. We're modern, enlightened, post-religious. Nietzsche declared God's dead. Freud said belief was wish fulfillment. Interesting spirals in their own right, but they still don't explain why we keep building altars. Altars to fame, to productivity, to love, to whatever gives us the illusion of control. And here's the wild part. The ancients, they weren't all that different. Anthropologically and archaeologically, we seem to be wired for worship. From early cave paintings to temples, it's everywhere. This ache to respond to something greater than ourselves. Nature, the gods, the cosmos. But not all worship is the same. In most ancient pagan traditions, worship was transactional. You brought a sacrifice, you said the right words, you hoped the gods would be in a good mood. It was a one-way petition. And of course, there are hymns that sound like affection, but even those are laced with expectation. You're good to me, so I'll keep singing. But then something strange happens in the story of Israel. The God of Israel doesn't just demand offerings. He tells the people to remember. And it soon becomes clear that worship of the Lord isn't about convincing him to act. It's a declaration of what he's already done. And somehow, mysteriously, the worship that's meant to honor him ends up transforming us. So if humans have always worshipped, maybe the real question isn't why. Maybe it's how. And maybe, just maybe, we're not the ones who started it. Fun fact, the oldest surviving documented song in human history is a worship song. It's called Hurrian Hymn No. 6, and it's dedicated to Nikal, the Canaanite goddess of orchards and fertility. It dates back to around 1400 BC and was found in the ancient city of Ugarit, modern-day Ras Shamara in Syria. Written in Hurrian and inscribed in cuneiform on clay tablets. And the coolest part, it includes something super rare for its time: musical notation. Tuning instructions, scales, the whole deal. Musicologists have even tried recreating it today using Babylonian theory, and they believe it might have sounded something like this. Cool, right? So the oldest song we have is a song of petition, a reverent plea to a goddess, worship, etched in clay. But it gets better. The oldest recorded song of worship to Yahweh is known as the Song of the Sea, found in Exodus 15. And it's not just poetry, it was almost certainly sung. The Hebrew Masoretic text includes cantillation marks, tiny melodic cues baked into the text. They're like ancient sheet music for Torah chanting. It was probably performed call and response style, Moses leading and the people echoing. Some scholars say it even mirrors Egyptian victory hymns from the late Bronze Age, meaning the song itself might actually predate the surrounding prose. Most place it around 1100 to 1000 BC, with an oral tradition possibly around 1400 to 1200 BC. So let's compare these two songs. The Hurrian hymn is a personal petition. It's reverent, sparse, almost whispered. A worshiper asks Nikal for fertility, favor, protection. The theology is rooted in appeasement. Praise her well enough and maybe she'll bless you. But the Song of the Sea, it's not asking for anything. It's declaring what's already been done. It's communal, joyful, powerful. It names God's intervention in history, not as myth, but as memory. And instead of priests in a temple, it's sung by Moses, Miriam, and the entire community. It's not asking, it's remembering. So yeah, worship seems to be something we're built for. And it's true, Israel's worship also included petition. And other ancient cultures also gave thanks, sang songs, and held rituals. There's overlap. There's humanity. But when we sit with these songs side by side, we start to notice something else. Not just in what is sung, but in why. Worship of the God of Israel doesn't just aim to move the divine. It moves the worshiper. Worship is supposed to be for God. So why is it the worshiper that walks away changed? Maybe the real surprise is that worship isn't just something we give. It's something we're given. An invitation, a shaping, a gift that forms us even as we give it. And if that's true, what does it say about the one who invites us? Every sound you've ever heard, your favorite song, a dog's bark, your own laugh, it's just air shaking. And before anyone ever sang to God, he sang first. Long before there were temples, psalms, and shouting crowds, there was a voice. There was the word. The book of Genesis doesn't open with tools or blueprints. It opens with sound. And God said, a command breaking through the silence and setting the universe in motion. Now, we don't know if God has vocal cords. Probably not. But scripture tells us he speaks. That's less about anatomy and more about agency. Because when God speaks, things happen. Reality responds. But before we dive deeper into that mystery, here's a quick crash course on sound from someone with an audio engineering degree she doesn't use. Sound is vibration. When something shakes or oscillates, your vocal cords, a guitar string, even air itself, it pushes molecules around it, creating waves of pressure. These waves travel through space until they hit something, like your eardrum, and you hear it. We measure those waves in hertz, Hz. That's how many times something vibrates per second. So when you hear middle A on a piano in concert pitch, that string is vibrating 440 times per second. That's 440 hertz. The higher the pitch, the faster the vibration. The lower the pitch, the slower. And those vibrations don't just live in your ears. They move through water, through your skin, even through the cosmos. Sound is invisible, but it shapes the physical world. And that's not poetry. That's physics. So now, when we talk about God speaking the world into being, or the spirit hovering, know that this isn't a mystical metaphor. It's real, measurable, oscillating reality. Now that we're up to speed, let's go back to the very beginning. A command breaks through the nothingness of Genesis 1 and sets the cosmos into motion. If you're more science-minded, you might call it the Big Bang. But if that bang came from God's voice, then maybe it wasn't just big. Maybe it was beautiful. And the Spirit hovered over the waters. But the Hebrew word for hovered, rachaf, doesn't mean float. It means to flutter, to shake, to vibrate. Like the tiny ripple in a glass of water when T-Rex is coming, then you can feel it before you see it. So imagine it. God speaking, the Word giving shape, the Spirit oscillating over chaos. Creation launched in surround sound. Even C.S. Lewis caught a glimpse of this in The Magician's Nephew, where Aslan sings Narnia into being. A voice had begun to sing. It came from all directions at once. It was beyond comparison, the most beautiful noise he had ever heard. And as Aslan sings, the valleys ring with music, and the land comes alive. In Narnia, the song doesn't stop when the world appears. And what if that's more than just fantasy? Scripture itself gives us this line in Job 38. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Now, this is poetic literature, but it paints creation as something far more glorious than an assembly line. It's a symphony, and the song doesn't stop there. Scripture continues that melody in Zephaniah 3. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by his love. He will exult over you with loud singing. God doesn't just make the world, he sings over it. And now science backs the mystery. There's something called the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, often dubbed the universe's baby picture. But it's not just visual, Embedded in that radiation are ripples, sound waves. Because those waves are way too slow for us to hear, we're talking one vibration every 100,000 years slow. Scientists like John G. Kramer actually scaled them up so we could actually listen in. The result? And just when you think that's the weirdest part, in 2023, a low-frequency hum was detected by astronomers using pulsar timing arrays. It's been called a gravitational wave background, possibly caused by colliding supermassive black holes or the stretching of space-time itself. As Scientific American put it, a background hum pervades the universe, and scientists are still racing to find its source. So yeah, when we say the cosmos hums, we're not being cute. It literally does. From the echo of God's first command to the low rumble of space-time, the universe is still ringing, a song that never stopped. The word didn't go out and vanish, never wasted, never void. So maybe worship isn't about starting the song, but joining in. And the real question isn't, should we sing? It's, are we in tune? So, if the universe is already singing, and if worship is already happening, how do we join in? Well, the people of God have been answering that question for a long time. The Israelites responded with songs of memory, songs that shaped them as people. The early church picked up that rhythm too, with prayers, hymns, and creeds, communal, responsive, formational. Worship became call and response. God acts, we answer. Not with bargaining, not with performance, but with memory, with gratitude, with presence. And one of the most beautiful examples of this is a little Passover refrain called Dayenu. It means it would have been enough. If he had only brought us out of Egypt, Dayenu. If he had only parted the sea, Dayenu. If he had only fed us in the wilderness, Dayenu. But he didn't stop there. It's not a list of demands. It's a liturgy of remembrance. Repetitive, poetic, formational. A rhythm that teaches the soul how to respond. Not to earn God's love or favor, but to remember that He's already given more than enough. And this is what worship does. It tunes us in. Not to summon God, but to remember Him. To fall back into the melody that's already playing. And to our surprise, discover that we were always meant to sing along. So here's a practical way to practice this. Grab some Post-its. On each one, write something God has done in your life. Start small, but be personal. Get real. Line them up and read them aloud, and let it become your own liturgy of enough. If He had only pulled me out of that one season, Dayenu. If He had only reminded me I'm not alone, Dayenu. Whether we realize it or not, we're always worshiping something. The question is, are we offering it to the one who's actually worthy? So what are you tuning into today? None of this is meant to be scientific proof for God. It's an invitation to marvel, to wonder at a God so vast He set the cosmos in motion, and yet so kind He sings over you and calls you beloved. So yeah, write your own Dayenu. Name His mercies in your life. Tune your life to the melody that's been playing since before time began. Because you're singing something. We all are. And sure, you can choose to sing out of tune. It's your prerogative. But we've all winced at a singer who's almost hit the note. And that's what life sounds like when we try to carry out the song without the composer. So if you're going to worship something, why not make it the one whose song you were made to sing? Until next time, spiral responsibly.